explanation and apology, as well as for a meeting, a sit down, to be able to work with her, to be able to change the dress code. And now I would like to introduce Chip Faust, who is the president of the local NAACP here in Randolph County.
Chip Faust es el director de la Organización Nacional Conferencia de Afroamericanos que está basada aquí en Randolph.
Let me publicly congratulate Ever on being a graduate of Asheboro High School.
Felicidades, Ever.
The reason that the NAACP is here today is for basically for three reasons. One is because we want to let everyone know that we stand shoulder to shoulder with anyone in our community who is trying to be silenced. And so when individuals try to make political points by trying to threaten or trying to scare people away from making their voice heard, the NAACP stands with you to say your voice will be heard. You will not be silenced. And that's why one of the reasons why we're here today. Another reason that we're here today is because we also, while we support and we advocate that Ever's right to free speech must be supported, we also say that we stand shoulder to shoulder against anyone who would threaten violence on Dr. Crooks. We've looked over the last 2 days since this happened, we've gotten tons of phone calls from individuals working in the school system, individuals who went to this school system, who talk about the different ways that Dr. Crooks has helped individuals in the minority community. And we say that threats of violence not only will not be accepted, they are destructive to whatever points Ever is trying to make. Because individuals who don't want to talk about the big issue, the issue of being able to honor your heritage, will cloud the subject because they want to talk about threats of violence. So we don't get to talk about what we should be talking about because someone made a threat. We stand with Dr. Crooks that that's not acceptable and that we will not stand by and be silent as people try to do this. And the third thing I want to talk about is that I've had the opportunity to talk with individuals in the administration, individuals with Siembra, and I'm telling you, one of the good things is they don't seem like the sides are too far apart. I really believe that when they sit down and they talk, they're going to come to a very just and very equitable resolution very quickly, because so much of what both sides want is the same thing. But we have to understand the background behind this, the history behind what has created this turmoil. Many people saw what happened to Ever, and it struck a chord in them because it reminded them of bad situations they had as a minority at this school years ago. And so what I want to say to the administration is thank you for the work that you're doing, for the work that we've heard about over the last few days to try and build a more equitable and inclusive situation. Thank you for that. But let's not fool ourselves and think that the job is done. We have a lot of work left to do. And I say with the NAACP, and I'm sure I can say with this family and with Siembra, we're here to help you do that work. We're here to help you move forward. Another thing that we have to look at when you look at the background of how this happened is you have to look at what the state of North Carolina is trying to do to minority votes, to the minority voices in this state. Right. We have a state that hired or paid for data to look at how black people voted, and then passed laws to suppress that vote. Our own state Board of Elections says that if the voter ID law had been enacted, over 300,000 people living in North Carolina who are legally able to vote would have been denied that vote. Over 300,000 people, over a third of them, over 100,000 of them would have been black men and women. When black people make up only about 20% of the population, but we'd have been 30% or more of the people hit. That's not an accident. When you will accept as legal ID a hunting license, but you will not accept as legal ID student ID from a historically black college and university, that's not an accident. That's what the background that created this situation, so that when people saw the video, They also saw that. When you, as a state, want to cut out Sunday voting because you know that black people make up 70% of the people who voted on Sundays with souls to the polls. It's not an accident that those things happen. And the reason that they happen is the reason why the community looked at this situation the way that they did. So I want to make sure that people understand that this didn't happen in a vacuum. This happened in a state that is systematically trying to take voting rights away from minorities. And we at the NAACP will not stand still, will not be quiet. We will work arm in arm with our friends in the Latinx community to make sure all voices are heard and all votes are counted. Thank you very much.
Chip Faust, él es el presidente del capítulo local del NAACP, por sus siglas en inglés, una organización afroamericana. Hizo conexiones importantes sobre la lucha de identidad y orgullo de herencia con las condiciones actuales de racismo que vimos en Norte Carolina. En estos momentos, Ever y su familia van a intentar ir a la escuela, van a ir a la escuela para recuperar el diploma de Ever. Esta mañana la familia ha tenido un acercamiento con la escuela y en este momento vamos a seguir a Ever. Vamos a seguir a Ever y su familia. Y para muchas de las personas